Hello and welcome to my channel. If you are new, today I'm going to be showing you how to draw a body. This is a very simple tutorial, but you can apply it to pretty much any body that you want after you learn the basics. And this is for you if you are just looking to master the basics. So I trust that you will find this video to be very, very helpful, and let's get started. To start off, you're going to need some sort of model. You can use something a lot of people have, like on the right, which is one of those little figurines that people physically have, or you can have a virtual figurine. This is really cool because you can use many different types of bodies to go off of. However, you can also use a picture or yourself as the model. Anyway, you're going to start off by making a circle for the head. And then the entire length of the body, assuming it's an adult, is going to be about 8 times the head. So you want to make, going down in a straight line, 8 circles that are about the same size, and that's going to give you the length that the body should be. You can do what I'm doing here and just mentally map it out, or you can physically sketch out the circles to make sure that it's exactly the length that you need it to be. Anyway, you're going to make a cross coming down from the head, and then 2 circles on the sides of the lines going horizontally. Then you're going to make a trapezoid coming off of that line, and another trapezoid that goes outwards. And if you're doing it with the circle method, as you'll see here, you're going to want the initial line to be in the second circle, and then you're going to want where the torso goes inverted to be at the line of the 3rd and 4th circle. To represent the arms, we can either use straight lines or ovals. I give you an example of both. Here I'm obviously using ovals, and you want them to fold around where that line of the torso is. And you see where the kneecaps are. We're going to make little circles to represent those. I find that using circles for the kneecaps makes the kneecaps look so much more realistic. If you are using the circle method, the kneecaps are going to be right at the bottom of the 6th circle. Each part of the leg should be around the same length, and at the bottom, you're going to make these triangles with a flat bottom. If you're a beginner, I suggest using ovals for the limbs because it'll make the outlining process a lot easier. But just like the legs, each half of the arm should be around the equal length as well. And once you get to the bottom, add either a little triangle or a little rectangle, and that's going to give a good base for the hands. Once you have all of that down, now we can start the outlining process. And with the outlining process, whether or not the person is bony or super curvy, you don't want there to be any harsh edges. Because even if the person is bony, their bones still have curves to them. So it's going to look really angular, but you want the edges of their shoulder blades and everything else to be a tiny bit curved. And once you get down to the hands, the easiest way to make hands simplified is make a little curve that comes off of one side, and then off the other side, if you made a rectangle, make another curve that's bigger. The smaller curve, of course, is going to be for the thumb, and then the bigger curve is going to be for the fingers. So you want them facing each other, and you can add little fingers, little slits in the bigger curve if you would like to add a little bit more detail to your drawing. Once you do that, now it's time to erase all of the guidelines. So all of those circles, especially if you did the circle method that I mentioned earlier, you're going to be doing a lot of erasing here, but once you're done, you're going to be left with a beautiful base to work with, and then it's just a matter of shading. When it comes to shading, we want to pay attention to the lighting. I'm going to be using a very standard lighting to go off of, but if you have like an app like this or a physical model, you can easily maneuver and manipulate the lighting so that you can get the proper shading on your figure that you're drawing at home. But as for standard everyday lighting, we're going to want some shading around the limbs. Now you see in this model here, there's a little bit of light coming from the right side more than the left. So there's going to be more shading on the left side of the body, but there's still a little bit of shading on the right side as well. So for this, we're going to be using very light circular motions going around. And for community guidelines purposes, I did put clothes on this figure. And honestly, this is perfect if you're doing a fashion sketch or character design. You can add whatever clothes you would like to it. But once you get the shading technique down, and then the world is really your oyster because you're just going to copy the shading that your model is showing. The amount of bones that are showing on a body is going to vary from body to body, of course, but as a general rule of thumb, if their shoulder blades are exposed, you're going to have 2 little lines coming from inside the neck and then 2 horizontal lines coming from each shoulder blade, and then make a little tiny curve inside and right in between where they meet, and add some shading around that, and it's going to give you some really good realistic shoulder blades. And I think that really ties drawings together and makes it look a lot more realistic. So to do that, you're going to be working from the dark to the light. So the dark is where the shadow starts, and you're going to work outwards and make it lighter as it goes out. So you're going to use tiny circular motions that you're going to lift your pencil up just a tiny bit as you keep getting further and further away from the origin of the shadow, and that's going to give you a really beautiful blended seamless design. But also you can use a Q-tip or a blending stump, a tortillon I believe they're called, and you can get really good blended effects with that as well. On each side of the ankles you can add a little tiny curve, and that'll make it look like the ankle knuckles. I'm actually not sure what the ankle knuckles are actually called, but I'm just going to call it that because I'm pretty sure you can understand what I'm saying. But now it's just a matter of adding more and more shading, gradually building it up to make it look more and more realistic. In the inner corner of each of the triangles that you made for the feet, you can make a big circle, and that's going to be the big toe, and then you can get smaller circles, 4 of them right after, to make the other toes, and then add shading in between them and underneath. And you can also add a shadow underneath the entire body as well that goes around the width of the body. And don't be afraid to go back and forth with your pencil and eraser, but just a warning, you want to err on the side of caution by using a lighter hand with your pencil, because it's a lot easier to add than subtract. It's a lot easier to add more pencil than erase harshly drawn pencil. Anyway, if you work hard enough, you don't even need to use a blending stump, but this is actually a lot easier. And also, this isn't even a blending stump, as I've mentioned, it's just a Q-tip, so you don't need anything fancy here. It does give a nice blended appearance though, but you do want to use a light hand with that Q-tip. You don't want to do too much because that can also mess up the paper. And now you can re-add some of those highlights by erasing them. And once you have everything situated, then you can go back and you can redefine those shadows and make them more confident lines and less sketchy. And you can obviously add more highlights as you desire. And once you do that, you can obviously add the face and the hair. And once you do that, you have done it. And if you master this, you can honestly do anything you want with bodies. Just move the joints around and apply the same techniques, and keep looking at your models and keep practicing, and you can draw any body that you want. Thank you so much for watching. If you can, please like and comment on this video, and it'll really encourage me to make more videos like this.